Well, we'll see if they're going to be reused or not. Yeah. Well, you know, it's one of those things where you know, that's such a tough loss. So yeah, he's gonna join us. So I don't know if you guys, when you came in, this is one of my neighbors, Jim Allen. Yeah. So.
And he's apologizing because he's only been here 5 years. Telling he's really one of us.
I gave him homework. He had to review what the heck we've been up to. So.
Excellent.
Excellent.
License keeps falling in.
And I go outside early in the morning.
Do we know if April's going to be here? Okay.
Yeah, we actually did one pretty carefully again. I mean, not to take them under my yeah, I can see it, I think, when it's in the corner,
Is it what? I don't recognize okay. Eddie, you said? Yeah, that's the guy that's releasing that property from the park. Okay.
No, we don't have any bananas.
How's Miss Shari?
I'm doing well. I'm sorry, I thought I was muted. But no, we don't have. So.
Well, we're just slowly getting everybody together here, so I'm just taking down the Zoom names.
All right. Isn't it nice when people are named their actual names?
Yes. So I see Jean, I see Deborah, Tim, Stephanie Hawkins. Hello, Kevin Jeffries.
Hello, Blaine.
So I know we got about 5 minutes here, so we've got a few folks here over at the South Oldham Government Center, and then I'm testing something out here, guys. I've got a tripod and my iPhone that'll be stationed very near the podium. So hopefully, if we have everybody muted and whatnot when we get started, we'll be able to hear everybody okay. So keep our fingers crossed. I think we get better at these things every time we do them.
Sounds good.
The audio sounds good tonight.
Well, that's actually good because this is my laptop that I'm currently talking to you on.
Can't wait till we don't have to do this anymore.
Well, I would have liked to have seen your smiling face, Tim.
Yeah, but I'm eating a burrito, so I ain't turning the video on.
Yeah, you'll see mine go off when my dinner's ready.
Yeah, all right. I hear you. I hear you.
Okay, so I guess that is the plus side of this deal.
That's what I usually figure when I don't see faces here. I'm wondering, are you eating, or you already got your pajamas on, or what do you got going on?
Yeah, I don't care if you see me drinking beer. You just don't want to watch me tear up a burrito.
You did what?
She can't wear one.
Blaine, you look like a surgeon with that mask on.
Yeah, I actually grabbed one of these. 'Cause I left my other ones at the house, so I always have one in the car, just for emergency purposes or whatever. So.
Yes, sir. Hello, Bill Ferko.
Kevin, how are you?
Good, good.
All right.
I do the first meeting in the age of crime. Yeah, that's me. I'm Chris, actually. Hey, Gilbert, that's a better name than some folks.
Can you hear me? Blaine,
Hey, Bob.
make sure you got me.
Yep, got you. I see Bill Ferko is on. Nope, I'm just getting ready to get the meeting ID in here. Oh yes, we've got, let me get back over here. And I've written all these down, Mary, so. I've got online here, we have Bob Dye, Bill Ferko, Gene Crady, Karen McShane, Deborah Graham, Kevin Jeffries, Shari Brooker, Tim Kohlenberg. It says that I have Debbie Neal Pate online. Man, she's a multitasker.
She wants to attach.
She gets 2 votes, okay. She,
Make sure I can get on.
yeah. Well, you're noticing I've got laptop, I'm getting phone out, and then Tim, who'd I miss here? Oh, Stephanie Hawkins as well. So I think we do have a quorum.
Hello?
Mary, give me just one quick second here. I just got to put the meeting ID into this thing. And then you're going on screen, Mary. Yeah, I talked to him just a couple hours ago. Yeah. Look at that. Got a few more folks just walking in here.
Hey, Blaine.
All right, 1 second here.
Looks like it.
I'm gonna put this real close to you, Mary, so everybody can hopefully hear you.
Oh, good. This might be better.
Hi, Mary.
All right. Can you guys hear us?
Yes, but I think we're muted.
Okay. Gonna call the meeting to order. Is something wrong? Oh, I know. It's terrible.
No, it's white now. It's manageable.
We do have a quorum, so we can go ahead. And I have a prayer, which I borrowed from Bob Russell.
Yeah, turn your volume. Your volume.
Kevin Jeffers.
It's not me. It's
Oh,
you.
as it should die.
It goes
No,
to
it's
EP
fine. It should be good
Ferko.
now. It's on this. You can't have the volume.
Okay, everybody, work with us. We're working with technology.
It's totally
Yeah, I shut up the volume on the laptop.
It's a little bit low, but I don't want to.
Okay, this is Chris Gilbert, who's,
Uh-oh, don't throw me under the bus if it goes,
No.
goes south here.
Chris Gilbert is one of our new precinct officers, very
Hello.
active. And he's multitasking. Does car detailing in Pelee Valley, and now he's operating the iPhone. Anyway, here is our prayer. It's I lifted it from Bob Russell. Oh God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, we bow before you because honestly, we have no place else to go. For over 200 years, you have exceedingly blessed our nation. The United States of America has been the freest, the wealthiest, and the most opportunist nation in the history of the world. Now we are divided down the middle by race, ideology, and politics. Family and church members fight and devour one another. There's so much incivility and downright hatred for one another that we tremble at Jesus' words. A house divided against itself cannot stand. We are lost and in need of dramatic rescue. We implore you, our gentle shepherd, to come to our aid in this desperate hour. We have no one else to turn, Lord. We really need you. We pray this in Jesus' name. Thank you for Bob letting me use your prayer. We need to say the Pledge of Allegiance. You can join us at home. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are delighted to have with us tonight Jason Nemes. We'll let you go first, Jason.
Right.
I know he has a tough race ahead of him.
That's right.
So, come on up.
Somebody gonna give me a clock to make sure I don't go too long.
Yeah, how long do you want to go?
Whatever you want, whatever you want me to.
About 10 minutes?
You just tell me. I'm gonna try to leave some time for questions, so just tell me when that's the last question, whatever.
Okay.
All right, Mary, thanks for having me here today, Blaine. Thanks for inviting me. We've got some tough elections coming up all across Kentucky, all across the United States. And Oldham County is, as we see, we're no longer immune from the left coming at our seats, coming at the people who represent the folks in Oldham County. What happened from my take on what happened in the Bill Ferko race was a matter of just energy. And it had nothing to do with anything perhaps that Bill could have done. It was the United States Senate race for the Democrats. I've dived into Louisville numbers and just want to let you know what I think about it there. There were about 22,000 voters in Louisville, in his Louisville precincts. I don't share any of those, but those precincts are very similar to mine. Ken Fleming has most of those precincts. There are about 22,000 voters, 15,200 Democrats, and 6,758 Republicans voted in a district that is a little more than 50-50 Democrat in those precincts in Louisville. So it was almost 2-to-1 Democrat. So that's takeaway number one. They had the energy. Takeaway number two, one thing I was very worried about is we're hearing about the suburban bleed that's going blue. So I was worried about that, and I looked at the numbers. Out of the 6,758 Republicans that turned out, we don't know how they particularly voted, but we do know that in those precincts, Bill got 6,704 votes. So what that means is almost 99% of the Republicans voted for Bill Ferko. So they stayed home and voted for Bill. So in some way, they stayed home twice, right? Some of them actually stayed home and didn't vote. The Democrats did by 2-to-1 margin. And the ones that did vote, Republicans, voted Republican. So that's a good message for us to take into November, that we just need to make sure that we're getting our folks out. And so I think it's an energy thing. With Trump on the ballot, obviously the left is going to be energized, especially in the suburbs and in the core of Louisville. But we should also be energized because we've got a lot, United States has a lot on the line. And so we need to make sure that we're getting out the vote. I know everybody here will, but make sure that we're helping our candidates get the folks from all the precincts. I think there are 38 in Oldham County, about 35 in my district total, to the polls. So my district, I think I know most people here, is 80% in Louisville and 20% in Oldham County. I have all of Pee Wee Valley and almost all of Crestwood, and I have Carriage Hill as well. And so that's my district. My opponent is somebody who is extremely liberal on all counts. That's something Republicans always say when we're trying to define our opponent. It's true most of the time. It's especially true here. Just to give you one example, during the Fletcher year, she's always worked in state government, so she's looking to have another taxpayer pension. But during the Fletcher years, which is the only time that she's not worked in government, she was the CEO of Planned Parenthood Kentucky. And so to a lot of us, having a pro-choice Democrat is bothersome, but we kind of understand that's the way it goes. Most Democrats are going to be pro-choice. Something we strongly disagree with, most of us, but we understand that's the way it is. But having someone represent you who's a Democrat who's pro-choice is mighty different than having the head of the snake, being the head of Planned Parenthood, which in my view is a disgusting organization that slaughters thousands and thousands of children in Kentucky and of course across the country. And so she's she is what we fear, that our opponents will be. And so we need to make sure that we get out and that Oldham County is not only represented by a senator who we're going to take that seat back in 2 years, but by someone who obviously is a true believer, because she was the head of the organization that is I think our arch enemy as Republicans. So what do we need? Kim's going to need, and I'm going to need your help. Thankfully, David Osborne doesn't have an opponent in the general, and that's most of Oldham County, so there won't be much of an election at the state level in Oldham County other than Mitch McConnell and President Trump, which should be enough to get most people out. But we're going to need people to help us make phone calls and get people to vote. And you're also going to need to, if you can, volunteer to work the polls. Secretary of State Mike Adams testified before the State Government Committee earlier today. And one of the things he said was, I want to have many more polling locations, but that's going to be dictated by how many poll workers that we have in Kentucky. And so, I know Julie Barr is trying to get a bunch of poll workers, but we need to try to sign up if we can. There's going to be a push. Just be ready for that push and help us try to push it out to other people so we can have more polling locations open. It looks like that we will have an expansion in absentee balloting, which I think is good. I don't want it to be unlimited like it was before, effectively unlimited. And most importantly, I don't want it to be for 2 months, but it looks like we're going to have expanded absentee balloting in November. And I can answer any questions about that in a little bit. I want to turn just quickly and then answer any questions to what's going on in Frankfurt. Everybody's watching it. Everybody's getting news. If you read the newspaper or listen to it on the radio, Governor Beshear is going backwards on shutting more things down. And the reason for that is the spike. And there is a spike. This is a very serious virus. There's no question about it. It appears maybe to be weaker than it was before, but it's a serious virus and we need to take it seriously. What I would like to know, and you won't answer these questions, is I don't trust the data. I trust that it is spiking. But if you're positive and you go back the next week to see if you're positive again, that appears to be added as a second case. We have a bunch of people who are saying that they signed up but left because the line was too long and those tests came back positive. I don't know how prevalent those things are. Those may be just a few anecdotes here and there, but we don't have questions. We don't have answers to those questions when we ask them, because this governor is the most partisan person I've ever met. He's beyond politics, he says, but yet he's the most partisan person. And I'll tell you why if you want me to go into that, but he's very, very partisan. He's not working with the legislature at all, even though we're a super majority, and he's not meeting with Attorney General Cameron to get the policies right. And so we think he's making a lot of errors in his judgment. For example, we're about to go backwards on restaurants. That may be reasonable, but how many people have received COVID from restaurants? That's something that if you're going to shut restaurants down, you better know. You won't share that information. He was asked a couple weeks ago, will you provide the comorbidities of all those who died? He said no. And then he said from the podium, because I don't want people cherry picking the data. Excuse me, it's not your data. It's the people of Kentucky's data, number one. And number two, if you're going to shut these businesses down, we're not saying that we wouldn't support those steps, but we're saying you've got to persuade the populace. You've got to show the information. So his decisions are trustworthy, and that would add legitimacy, and it would enable us to more confidently comply with all the dictates that are coming down. So anyway, that's some of the things that are going on in Frankfurt. I wanted to leave for time for questions if anybody has any.
You got time.
Okay.
I want to know why you think he's the most partisan.
Yeah. Okay. It's unquestionable he's the most partisan person that I've ever met. So day one of his administration. So you can't come into this with a COVID kind of thing. So it was before COVID. On day one, for the first time in Kentucky history, he obliterated the Department of the Board of Education, the State Board of Education. It's never happened before. And not only did he obliterate it, but he appointed 12 members to the board. How many do you think were Democrats?
12.
All 12. 8 of the 12 contributed to his campaign. On all of his appointments, he's making these hyper-partisan appointments that are contributors to his campaign. He won't meet with us. He won't respond to us. He had an idea. He was playing politics he had an idea that he would meet with us on the phone. This was during COVID, after a session. Meet with us on the phone and answer questions that we had. He was going to do it in 5 or 6 person increments. We had the first one. We were ready. We had asked our constituents, what would you like for us to ask the governor? So we prepared. Why would we not? They were all legitimate questions. He didn't like them. So we canceled all the meetings. He didn't have any more meetings. The first day that we learned about COVID, he tells the General Assembly, when we hadn't even passed the budget yet, go home, you're jeopardizing Kentuckians' lives, because he wanted to kick us to the curb and take full power. And so we didn't do that. We stayed and we did our work, while the left, the left in the universities, of course they control the universities, the left in the press and the governor, all the while telling us that we're killing Kentuckians for doing the duty, the job that you guys elected us to do. So we've been having headwinds ever since. So there's those are 3 reasons, but it's every single day it's put in our face why he's the most partisan person that I've met. Matt Bevin, a lot of people didn't like him, but he didn't necessarily come down party lines. He had more the Republicans take shots at him than anything, than Democrats at times, because for whatever reasons. But Andy Governor Beshear is the head of the Democrat Party, and that's what he sees his main role as. So that's fair, that's fine, that's what he thinks, and so we have to be ready in January to learn the lessons that we hadn't learned before and respond for the people of Kentucky and bring some balance to our government.
Before we take any other questions here from the room, I just want to remind everybody that if you have any questions out there in Cyberland, go ahead and type your question in the chat box. I'm monitoring that, so we'll be happy to pass those questions along to Jason as well. As people are potentially doing that, I'm just going to make one quick comment if I can. If you're on Facebook, which most people I think are on Facebook, if you're not following this guy, follow him. He's great about constituent interaction. One of the best that I've seen, and that's a real compliment. And he asks a lot of questions, and he's getting some good feedback from all different sides on issues. So I appreciate the ability to have that communication with our legislator.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. And that's, we learn a lot from our constituents. And as I was leaving my home today, I had a parent in Jefferson County, a father, asked me, I'm not going to qualify for the free computer, but man, they've got really good deals that the state has with Dell computers. Why don't we see if we can get the parents? We're not getting it for free because we don't qualify, but we're not wealthy. Can I buy it from the same price? So I immediately said, man, that's a really good idea. Just learned it from Facebook. He direct messaged me. So I immediately texted the superintendent, and now we got that in the works. So that happened in 10 minutes, but I wouldn't have known that. So it's not just me educating the public and my constituents. Heck, I learned a great deal from them and how I can better do my job.
How does the governor handle as far as what happened this weekend, as far as an armed militia group coming in and threatening the state, the citizens, and directly as far as shooting, and they shoot to kill and burning down the city? Where does this end when it actually happens and it becomes reality, and then everybody looks around at each other and how do we let this happen, or why did we let this happen?
Yeah, they threatened us. Seemed to be pretty.
That's terroristic.
Yeah, they've threatened us. It seemed to be pretty serious. I think we should take them at their word. How's the governor respond? He doesn't comment on it. He comments when a bar has people too close. I'm not saying that's inappropriate, but he's not going to comment when we have. This is militia from the right and the left come here and go downtown Louisville. Look, our people. We're hurting right now in Louisville and all over Kentucky, but especially in my hometown of Louisville. It's devastating. I don't know if you've been downtown.
Yes, it's very sad.
It is a war zone.
Yes.
All the windows are covered up. The statues and curves and so forth. Not all the curves, but they're painted. It breaks my heart. That's my town. That's your town. That's Kentucky's town, and it's destroyed, and it's destroyed from just complete and utter incompetence at the city level. And our governor won't even comment on it. We wouldn't let sand volleyball play. This is how silly it is. And please don't hear me say the virus isn't serious. It's serious. Most of you have masks on. I had a mask on coming in. I'm taking it very seriously. But when you don't let sand volleyball play, but you say nothing about thousands and thousands of protesters. That doesn't, it doesn't, right.
It's beyond,
Yes.
it's beyond.
No, that's right. The peaceful protesters, there are thousands of them, and they're coming out and they're being heard. And man, I support their right to be heard. No problem with that. But that's not what you're asking, right? You're asking about the more violent element. But there's no comment about it. And so what I met last night with some gentlemen from Eastern Jefferson County who I had never met before, and one of them was a 70-year-old man, and he said, Jason, I've never owned a gun before, and I've never been in fear. But I'm worried about my community and I'm worried about my family. And I think I'm going to go buy a gun for the first time in my life. And he said, forget about what, don't tell me what you think about that particular thing. But he said, I'm emblematic of thousands and thousands of Louisvillians who don't believe that their government is capable of keeping us safe. And then he said, and if I feel like that here, and he's in Eastern Jefferson County, he said, what do you think our families, our good families who are trying to raise good little boys and little girls, most of them would be African-American in the West End, what he was referring to. He said, what do you think they feel? They're just trying to do right. They're trying to raise their kids. And I feel like this out in the East End, they've got to feel so much worse. And he said, you know, he thinks that our mayor especially has dropped the ball. And I agree with him. I think it's complete and utter incompetence. So what I think should happen is this. I think I've reached out to the Attorney General. I'm not talking to him about it yet, but I'm going to. I've reached out to him to set up a meeting. I believe that the Attorney General should communicate with Louisville and they should have an agreement. If not, I don't think you should sue them to disallow that group from having a permit. They got a permit before, and I think they should not be allowed to have a permit. So the moment that they step onto our property, that they stop a street, that they block down a street or whatever, that they're breaking the law and they should be held accountable. They're not from here. If you're from Louisville, if you're from Kentucky, and you're out there and you're wanting to be heard, we may not agree with what you're saying. By God, you're a Kentuckian. You got a right to get out there and say it. You don't have a right to block streets and so forth when people are trying to get to work, but you got a right to be loud. You got a right to be a little rambunctious. But you're not from, you don't have a right to destroy our city. No, ma'am. But if you're from out of Kentucky, we don't need you. We don't need you.
And especially when they're traveling in from states that we're being told by our governor that we shouldn't be traveling.
Yep, I think it's right. And I would say the same for the I don't know if they're the 3%ers or whatever. I don't think their presence in downtown Louisville is helpful either. I think it's very dangerous, and we're a powder keg right now. And I hope, as the prayer said, that we need togetherness, and we need people to listen to one another, and we need, I'm a politician, and this is a word not many politicians use, but I think we need to love one another. I mean, it just comes down to the respect and love, and that's what we need to do, and who knows. But I think that group should be disallowed a permit, so when they come here, immediately they're lawbreakers and they need to be held accountable.
So would that be all over the state or just in Louisville? Because like, for instance, we've gone down to Del Hollow and in Burkesville, they also had, not somebody in Cumberland County, but they had protesters in Clinton County. And my dad's family's from down there. And my aunt said, when I went to town, there wasn't anybody there that was from down there. They were all from out of state. Yeah. So would that encompass the whole state?
Well, it would encompass this group wherever they go, because they've made a direct threat to burn up city. They said shoot to kill. And I think they were, I was obviously they were aiming at, they're aiming at Daniel County. And if you don't do what we want you to do, we'll burn this place down. And I've cleaned up that a little bit.
Right.
And so I think, again, I think we need to take them at their word. That's what they've said they want to do. So when they come here to perhaps execute on their threat, they don't need to be allowed in here. I mean, they're not Kentuckians. They don't need to be. And look, they have the right to be here and scream and holler all they want. But when they made that threat, that was a line that they crossed, and I don't think they should be welcome back. I think they should be unwelcome. But the governor's done nothing.
It's an oath for being the governor of the state of Kentucky in our Constitution. Doesn't he have a right to protect the state? And when there's a threat like that comes on and nothing's said or nothing's done about it, I mean, his duty.
He's not right.
He has a duty, but he's paralyzed by the issue. He won't speak about it. He won't speak about it. Not only is he not going to act, he won't speak about it.
But doesn't he take an oath to protect the city?
Of course it does. Of course it does.
So can
and so does the mayor.
Do something about that?
Well, I think Daniel should do something about it. So and I think he has. I mean, he's joined a number of lawsuits, and there's the big one is pending before the Kentucky Supreme Court now. And so we'll see how that turns out. But we're one of the things I get in my email inbox a lot from constituents is, you know, we've elected Republicans in a supermajority in the legislature, and we've elected Republicans up and down the ticket, including our Attorney General. And what are you doing? With the legislature, it's difficult because, you know, and after we adjourn, you know, April, we effectively don't have any legal right to do anything. The Attorney General does, and I think he's being mindful of taking smart steps and not just firing off, you know, shots, but being measured in his approach. And so I'm supporting him, what he's done thus far, and I think he's trying to do right. Although I have to say, in some way to defend him on this, in some ways he's conflicted because this is all about the Breanna Taylor investigation that's in his lap. And so I don't know, I haven't done the analysis in my mind of what the limits he could go to related to any protests about an investigation that he's in charge of. But there are other officials that need to be acting. Our mayor needs to act. You know, he's not. Our Commonwealth Attorney, Tom Wine, is a wonderful man. He needs to act. And I don't know that they are right now. They may be in their offices thinking about how to handle it. I don't know, but they certainly should do something. We turned a page and crossed a major line this weekend, I think, with those threats. And it was a self-inflicted wound, but it was a shooting.
So that's up to the mayor to not issue the permit?
It's the mayor's staff, yes. It's the city local, yeah. And so they issue the permits. I think what they're doing, because they're inundated with the protests and so forth, is they're just pretty much signing off on them, or maybe they're not even going through it. But I understand that the group that was there did have a permit, and they need to be rejected going forward.
But I guess, and then there was a question on here, online here, about what can the leadership do to take the governor to court to get him to listen to the legislature. But I guess the question is, and again, I know you're very good about reaching across the aisle. I would have all the legislators from Louisville band together, get a very public letter to the mayor saying, guys, the clock is ticking. They said 1 month.
Right.
Or we're coming back to burn down the town.
Yeah, I think that's right. Not only the local legislators, but the local city council, they've done a good job of working across the aisle to push back on some of the things the mayor has done and some things he hasn't done. And so I think that's a good idea, that we need to try to band together if we possibly can. It's difficult, I think, for the Democrats to stand up against the mayor and the governor. And I don't know if they do that or not, but there's no reason we shouldn't ask them.
All right.
All right. Thank you guys very much.
Fine.
Thanks, Mayor. Yep. Gotta get my vote Republican back.
Thank you so much, Jason. Honestly, we could have stayed here. I think I could have stayed here for another half an hour at least, listening to everything, learning. Let's see. There's so much going on. Our group likes us to meet only 1 hour, so my chairman's report's gonna come in later. Blaine, do you have anything today?
Yeah, one of the things that I've done on a few of these meetings is looking at the fundraising, because I don't know about you guys, but I think I'm getting 100 emails and texts a day from people looking for funds. And you would think that no one, from the president to Mitch McConnell, that everybody's broken and have no money. And I'm a person that likes to say, all right, let's really understand where people sit. So for example, in the current US Senate race, and understand that there's outside money, but Mitch McConnell right now, he has almost 17 million, $16.7 million in cash in his bank right now. And there's less than 100 days to go. Amy McGrath has $16.2 million. Out of 12,000 registered PACs, Mitch McConnell has the 26th most money in the bank out of 12,000 PACs that are, registered in the United States. Amy McGrath is in 28th place. And you know where money's coming from. It's coming from California, it's coming from, sorry Jim, but it's coming from New York and the East Coast. I find that interesting. So there's going to be a lot of money. If you think you're tired of campaign commercials now, just wait. There's going to be more and more. As far as Congress itself, Thomas Massie currently, he spent a lot of money in the primary. He has $220,000 in cash on hand. Now This is at the end of the second quarter, I should mention that, so it's through June. His opponent, Alexandra Owensby, I don't know if she's gonna really give him much of a raise. She's got $19,000 in her bank. So I don't know what kind of a campaign you can run with such little money. The last one I'll mention is President Trump. Just in the re-elect Trump for president PAC, he's currently got $113 million in the bank. Joe Biden's Biden for president PAC has $109 million. So that's really picked up a lot since he got he's the presumptive nominee for the Democrats. Now I mentioned that there are other funds out there. For example, there is another PAC called Biden Victory Fund, which has $81 million in its bank right now. So, you know, if you start adding 81 million to 108, you're getting close to $200 million that he has ready. That being said, Trump has other PACs as well that have, you know, I could go on for a number of these things. So I think what we'll do is when we put the next minutes out, I'll send this out to folks because I find it really interesting to look at all the money and where it's coming from. And there's a lot of very progressive PACs and whatnot that are very active out there trying to get Biden elected. Literally, I think when I was going through the top 40 or so, the top 40 will get you down to over $10 million in cash on hand. And there's some very progressive PACs out there that are training and organizing to get people out there to get the Democrat vote out there. So it's a serious thing there. Are we? And I don't know if this is under new business. Will we have an opportunity to let Bill give a couple of minutes conversation?
Bill Ferko?
Bill, yeah.
I don't see why not. I don't know. But let's go ahead and do the reports and then maybe do it. Let me see. Marissa, youth chair, I think. She's got a child that's going to have surgery on Thursday, and she's having to quarantine for that. So she doesn't have a report. April has a migraine and couldn't come, but I sent out the minutes earlier, the June minutes. Did anyone here or over the internet read them and have a correction? If not,
accept the minutes.
Right.
I move to accept less.
Oh, thank you. Got a motion to approve. Second? Oh, okay, Bob. All in favor? Aye. Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we've got those are passed. And now then, does Bob need to come up here to the camera to give his treasurer's report?
Are you comfortable doing that?
I can do it for you if you want me to. Okay.
Probably have to go ahead and crank it up on let me bend down. Did you just want to talk about just the treasurer's?
Yeah, just get the treasurer's report and we'll do that later.
Okay.
Soon.
Won't take me very long because this was a very easy treasurer's report to put together. We started out with the June balance at $12,858.17 in the checking account. There is one outstanding check for $55. Melissa cashed the check. That will leave then a balance in the checking account, $12,803.17. The income tax checkoff account is, there was no activity in that, $1,774. It says total funds available, $14,577.17. Questions?
Can I hear Here, a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I make it.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Oh, aye. Oh, opposed? Okay. Treasurer's report is passed. Debbie. Okay. Is Phil Ferko ready to say something?
I'm here.
Okay. We can hear you.
Oh, you can't see me? Okay. Well, I can talk. If you want me to say a few words. I'd like to thank everybody who helped me with my campaign, especially Blaine Anderson, Deborah Graham, Mary Broker for your help, Rick Rash, Debbie Pate, and the Oldham County Republican Women's Club. You know, the Oldham County GOP was incredibly helpful. All the endorsements I received from the constitutional officers and Jason Nemes. I mean, I just had, we could not have run a better campaign. The financial support I received was incredible. I remember talking to Jason when I started this thing. I asked, well, how much money do you have? He said, well, I had 60,000. And I said, well, I have zero. And I raised inside of 60 days about $132,000. A lot of personal money in as well on top of that. And in the the Republican Caucus, Senate Campaign Caucus Committee, and Republican Party of Kentucky chipped in about 100,000 between the two of them. And then we also even had some national outside unaffiliated money that came in and bought advertising. In total, we spent about $400,000. I think we outspent my opponent by roughly three times or four times what she spent on her campaign. The issue is just getting people to show up. As Jason mentioned, in Jefferson County, we had 150,000 Democrats vote compared to 55,000 Republicans. Fortunately, in Oldham County, we did a lot better. I won Oldham County. In fact, we probably had some Democrats who voted for me. I received 11,100 votes in Oldham County. In the presidential election, President Trump only received 8,700, and then there were another 2,200 uncommitted. So a total of 10,867 voted in the presidential election. 10,495 voted in the Senate election and 8,200 of those were for McConnell. So I received more votes than both McConnell and Trump received in Oldham County. In Jefferson County, Jason mentioned, the numbers where there were 16,000 Democrats that voted, or 15,000 Democrats and 6,000 Republicans. That's pretty similar to basically what the results were for myself. And it's also similar to the whole of Jefferson County, 150,000 Democrats to 55,000 Republicans. Both Booker and McGrath beat McConnell individually, even though they were running against each other. I mean, it was basically my election as well. I was running against four people. I had Biden, who got 110,000 votes, Booker and McGrath, and then my opponent, Berg. I also might point out that I think Blaine Anderson did an incredible job. The campaign manager for Berg was the same campaign manager that Governor Beshear had. So Governor Beshear loaned his campaign manager to my opponent's campaign. I mean, they were bolted together at the hip. Obviously, he was in all of her commercials, and she's very supportive. But really, I think, despite all of that, it was really this race, the riots that started at the end of May, and then it just brought out, Booker's congressional district overlapped part of the Senate district that I have. So a lot of the Booker supporters, especially from down on Cannons Lane and over by Seneca Park in the St. Matthews area, were supportive of this Booker campaign, and the Democrats just voted straight ticket. The scary thing is, if you look at Oldham County, so I received 11,100 votes. Trump received 8,700, and then there were 2,100 who were uncommitted, Republicans who were uncommitted in the presidential race. Our challenge is going to be to get everybody out in November. I mean, this race that we just experienced is it's a red flag in terms of getting Republicans to just show up. I think there's a lot of Republicans that may, have one issue or the other with either McConnell or Trump, and so they're just not going to vote. Well, then, we're going to lose so bad if people don't show up. So we need to get that message out that their votes are important. Even though you may only agree with, half of what he says, it's better than, the 100% of what Biden or, McGrath have to say. So we really need to get out the vote and support the people that have the same values that we have. So once again, thank you everybody for your support. Jason, we got to get you reelected. We have Ken Fleming as well. That was great, supported my campaign a lot. Again, everybody who helped me, I just deeply appreciate all of your support. That's all I have to say.
Well, Bill, I was so proud of you. Everybody was proud of you. You ran a perfect race, an absolutely perfect race. And what happened is totally unexpected and out of our control.
Right.
But you're exactly right. We've got to get the Republicans out in November to vote. We'll be okay if we get them out. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm going to turn this back over to Bob Vessels because his committee met concerning giving away the monies that we've made to give to our candidates.
Okay, at the last meeting, a committee was formed to look at what we wanted to do to contribute to the various candidates. Debbie Pate and Mary and I made up the committee. So we appreciate your confidence in letting us spend your money. But we had set aside or had budgeted some $6,000 to begin with this year for contributions to the candidates. A couple of things impacted that. Number one was that, as you know, we only contribute to candidates during the general election. We do not contribute to individual candidates in the primary. So that with David Osborne not having an opponent, this then freed up some of those funds. The other thing was that we had a very successful Lincoln Day dinner as far as funds were concerned. So what we've come up with is an excess, if you will, of funds that we had to contribute to the candidates. And of course, there's a federal election as well as state elections coming up. We are limited to how much we as an executive committee can donate to federal candidates in total, not individually. It is $1,000 in total. And I know that everybody says, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And you're right, but that's the rules. So anyway, what we decided to do was to give $333 to the president's candidate, well, actually $334 to the president's campaign, to $333 to Mitch McConnell, and $333 to Thomas Massie. So that takes care of another $1,000. The other thing that we did, and the other races that we had, we looked to see, okay, how do we want to split up what we have left? And we had originally thought about a third to the three candidates that would be running. We had one candidate come back and say, hey, I'm in pretty good position financially, right? And other two candidates can probably use it more than I can. So with that then, Jerry Miller, who was the candidate that basically said, in so many words, I don't need your money, I don't need all of your money, said a token amount. We decided to give Jerry $100. Well, that is a token amount. But what that enabled us to do was to give $4,000 for Jason and $4,000 for Ken Fleming's campaign. So in order to do that, we are taking some of the funds from the income tax checkoff account, and those funds can be used for just very, very limited purposes. With Kentucky Registry of Election Finance looking over everybody's shoulder, and not only do they look over your shoulder, they breathe hard down your neck. So that's what we've decided to do. We will take then, in order to provide the necessary funds, $1,649 will be transferred from the ITC account, the income tax checkoff account, to the regular checking account. And that's going to leave us with $125 in the income tax checkoff account. Just leave something in it rather than taking it all the way down. But that will also leave us with a checking account balance, as I figured it then, at $4,852. And that's pretty much where we figure we're going to wind up the year, because there's not going to be that much more going on that would then take away from that. So are there any questions about the procedure or the way the money was split up or anything? Okay, are you gentlemen happy with that?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Don't get ahead of yourself. The person now is barring you. Wait a minute. Okay.
Take it back.
Since this comes from committee, it doesn't need a second. So is there any discussion? Is there any, let's see, first of all, is there any live discussion? About distributing the donations. Okay. Anybody from home want to speak up?
I don't have anyone raising their hand out there or any questions in the chat box.
Okay. We're gonna finish this up.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor of the donations that's 334 for Trump, 333 for Massie, 333 for McConnell, 4,000 for Fleming, 4,000 for Nemes, and 100 for Miller. And we want to elect all three of these guys. All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, our treasurer can write those checks. Great. If you have your checks, there's some of them tonight.
Save us $1.10.
Okay, this since we will be going into the next year with almost $5,000, does anybody want to give any more money away?
Are there any expenditures from a budget standpoint that we need to be aware of between now and, say, for example, whenever we conduct, hopefully, our next Lincoln Day dinner, for example, our reorganization meeting? That'll need to be advertised.
But that won't be until next year.
Next year.
Right.
Yeah, but that's enough money.
Fundraising.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is too, there are no elections next year.
Right, no elections next year.
Which is kind of a breather year.
But we're going to have a huge election the next year.
I'm sorry?
Huge in 2022.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. We'll be beat up on elections.
Shelley.
Since we have the 5,000, is there, and there's no election next year, and we might not need it for things in the early year, is there a reason we could give an extra 1,000 for each of the candidates coming up?
To these two candidates?
Yeah.
I
know we can't to the federal, but to these two?
We could.
I know that would be separate because it was already voted on, but.
I would say more like 500. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I'll take that back because I'm the chair. Okay, Debbie?
What I would like to mention, and because I was on the committee, I kept quiet for a second, but you know me, I can't do that long. So I would like to make a motion that we give at least $500 more to Bill Ferko. to help him with all the money he spent on his campaign. It was a full campaign. It was a general election. And we nominated Bill to do this. And he represented the Republicans in a fantastic way. And I would like to see us give a little more to him, if we could.
Okay, do you need to put that in a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we give Bill Ferko, I don't know how much, Bill, $500, please.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Just a point of order, we were in the middle of a motion.
No, yeah, we have a motion now.
Well, we had an acceptance on the floor that we haven't passed. Did we pass it? We passed it. Never mind. Ignore me. Ignore me.
Ignore you? Yeah, I think we voted for the, I think we just voted to give the other, didn't we vote?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so we voted. Is that okay? Are we in order?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to give $500 to Ferko. Motion made by Debbie, paid second by Shelley. Is there discussion? Okay, all in favor of adding, giving Ferko another $500? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Bill, I wish it could be $4,000, but
I very
anyway.
much appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
All right, all right, all right. Shelley, you wanted to mention something else. Are you okay with it?
Yeah, could I make a motion to have discussion if $1,000 extra each for Ken Fleming and Jason Nemes would be, or is it 1,000, which would make 2,000? Is that the minimum we could give and still be okay in our treasury?
2,352.
That would take us down to 2,000.
So
Take us down to 2,000.
Is there a possibility that we're gonna have to like not have in-person meetings again or anything? Is there like any equipment that would be better purchased or anything that would make, like, the more involvement we can get right now with the Republican Party, the better. So the more appealing we make these meetings for people to attend from a digital in-person standpoint, could those funds be used better to get, because the money that we get, if we can get more people to tune in, is going to be spent better than directly given to any individual campaign, because each of us are going to reach more people and multiple than any individual campaign with $1,000, like by far.
And maybe we should advertise this.
Well, I can check with some equipment to change other meeting functions. So you have a microphone and a camera actually on you. We can talk about this not when everybody's tuned in. That would be pretty simple to solve. And that would really change, like, more people would attend from home, the more appealing you make something.
Okay, Henry.
I got this. After y'all finish this, I'll look at the time. I have a question. It's probably gonna take a long time to answer. So
I want to say something tonight to the group as well, and we can do it before that, because mine's really simple. So
I think you, okay, you said I want to think about it, so you haven't made a motion.
No, I wanted to ask
Okay.
if the
Okay.
1,000 each, which would be 2,000, if that is the minimum or the if that's the maximum, we should.
there is an election.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to give Jason Nemes another $1,000 and Ken Fleming another $1,000.
Okay, is there a second?
And what was that motion?
To give Jason another 1,000 and to give Ken Fleming another 1,000, which would take us down to 2,000. 2,800.
Blaine, this is Kevin.
Yeah.
I just have a concern. I think, if we get down to, $2,000 or whatever, and with, this COVID situation still going on, our fundraising is going to be somewhat limited for a while, and, Lincoln dinner and that kind of thing. So I think I'd be a little hesitant about getting our treasury down, too much farther. And if we get down to 2,000, that doesn't leave us very much of a cushion. So I don't think I would support it.
Right. Okay, Kevin, thank you. We haven't gotten a second, so I think that motion's gonna die. The money's gonna stay in the bank, Shelley, so we've got a few more months if we want to change our mind.
That's what I was gonna point out.
Okay.
We do have a couple of more months, and I'm sure that, any funds that will be sent to them at that time, they would appreciate just as much as, if we cost it all up right now.
Okay, let's see, Henry, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. Can I say it? I want to make sure everybody can.
Yeah, you can take it.
Can they see my mind?
Yeah, you want to come up and talk?
Come on, Henry, you can do it. Come on.
The folks out from Cyberland, they want to see you.
Yeah, you want to know who's talking.
Well, I appreciate Captain Henry coming up and
Yeah.
speak to it.
This is Henry Hutton, tell them who you are.
Henry Hutton, new out here, so we're not that new anymore. Like I was listening to y'all talk, and I listened to some of the other people's concerns too. That's just close together. First, I want to put this out there. Because I heard some people mention some things, and it was like they wanted to say something, but they didn't want to say it. Don't feel like you're going to hurt my feelings. If you got something to say, just say it. I've been through enough. I got some thick skin, you know, so you got something to say it. If it's on racial lines and you got a concern, say it. Don't worry about me. I'm a big boy, I can handle it. And that brings me to my next point. And I think this might have been, Ferko, if you're out there, this might have affected you too, and especially you guys. Y'all said that the majority of your district is in Jefferson County, right? So my question to you guys would be, and to anybody going forward, what are you guys going to do, and us as a party, what are we going to do to bring out the youth vote that bolsters the Democrats, the women vote that bolsters the Democrats, and particularly in my case, the black vote that they hold sway over this, you know, and so have we talked about those things, or have y'all had those conversations? I mean, it might be a little difficult now, you know, and like I said, and that's why I led with, don't feel like you're gonna hurt my feelings saying something, because I mean, it is what it is. The climate is what the climate is, and we definitely gotta address those issues.
I think what I was going to say actually really addresses that tonight as well, actually.
Yes.
And for me, my point was going to be about social media and what I see, and this is an observation. The Republican Party is losing the battle of controlling a narrative.
Yes.
And it's all based off of social media. It's not anything to do with what the media or the news covers. It's all about what's on social media. And if we as a party would stop feeding into the things that incite us and also incite the other side, where we're going to lose that argument, we would start pushing the things that are actually issues to us, it would balance out very quickly. And the issues that we're going through right now, I would actually argue the major issues have never, like that are really being affected, have actually probably never affected the majority of people in this room. And what I mean is, right now, your life has not been probably affected directly by a protester or by a rioter or by any of that stuff. So you're riled up because of what you're seeing and you're fearful, just the same way COVID 3 months ago had you fearful. So the other side, and I hate to have two-side combo about it, but they're doing a better job of controlling the narrative. So what's concerning me right now is 4 years ago, there were doctors going on TV left and right diagnosing Trump, saying he had all these mental disorders and all these issues. And what is not being discussed at all, and it's because we're losing the narrative, is what about Biden's health? Why is no one talking about that? People openly joke that he has dementia. Even the news people do it, but no one pushes that. Where are the doctors giving testimonial on Biden's issues? Why aren't we having those people show up on Facebook doing interviews? We need to start controlling the narrative and push it away from issues that don't really affect us.
Yes. And that's exactly, I'm glad you brought that up. And you saying that, it brings to another point that youth, you know, all of y'all are OGs. Y'all are OGs in here. Y'all been doing this probably longer than I've been alive. So, so it's good to, you know, for us youngsters to heed your, you know, experience and wisdom. But we bring that energy, you know, that youthful energy, and like, you know, just him speaking right there, you felt that passion that he had about the topic, and it's true. And, you know, he was just saying, you know, getting some equipment and stuff like that. That stuff, and then making it more, like, quote unquote sexy, like you would.
That would make a huge difference right now, especially in the age of COVID.
Yes.
If we come out and all of a sudden it's a huge, and it would literally cost not a lot of money to make that happen.
Yes, agreed.
About $1,000, I think, would probably cover everything that we would need to make it so that people here can talk, have microphones, you can do it live through Zoom, have webcam.
Yes, and also that hits on a lot of the points that I was just discussing and I brought up to you, John. Because contrary to what's being said in the media and in the news and stuff like that, if you look at the numbers, like the actual numbers, a lot of blacks are actually starting to move away from the Democratic Party. Maybe not to the Republican Party, but they're definitely moving away from the Democratic Party. And that's huge. And because if the black vote is so important to them, if Trump only wins, if he gets 15% of the black vote, they lose. I mean, because they're so dependent on that vote.
So something that I think that a lot of people maybe it's a generational gap. Like when you're on Facebook, if you see something that you don't agree with, don't comment on it, don't like it, don't acknowledge it at all. Because the more engagement it gets, the more people they show.
Yes.
So if you just completely ignore it and push the stuff that you care about, the narrative will shift, and it will change, and it will and
that's what algorithms is going to come into play.
We've got to start playing smart instead of playing emotional.
Yes.
This is very good. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so I'd like to just comment that one of the observations I had from my campaign is that there's really three different narratives that, especially here in Kentucky, we need to be aware of. There's the narrative for the rural versus the urban. The urban voters are the concerns of the urban, and there's a lot more young people in the city, in the urban, or has been. I don't know where they've all gone to in the last month or two, but you know, historically, younger people gravitate toward kind of the urban core, and where there's, you know, just a more vibrant, restaurant and bar scene and universities and all of that, versus the rural areas where, they're just, things are more spread out and there's just not as much for them to do. And so they leave the farm in the small town communities and move to the big cities. But then there's also the narrative for the suburban communities as well. And that's where in this district that Ken and Jason are in, it gets a little bit tricky because there's a lot of Republicans that are fiscally conservative, but they're socially liberal, especially when it comes to the abortion issue. And so that's where, you know, we're kind of threading the needle. And then there's what we like to call the limousine liberals, who I've never been able to figure out why we have limousine liberals other than they're trust fund babies and they've never had to work a day in their life. But I mean, so there's different messages for different communities. And this Eastern Jefferson County and even, you know, Northwestern Oldham County is a unique area for Ken and for Jason. And they have to kind of thread that needle. It's a little bit, and I commend them for doing especially Jason, as well as he's threaded, and he's even deeper into more liberal sections of Louisville than Ken is. So we need to help them. And I think that RPK did a good job. RPK and Senate Caucus did a good job doing a survey for me to make sure we understood what the issues and concerns were. And I thought we did a really good job of sending out the right mailers to the right communities and kind of targeting the messaging properly. But you're right. I mean, when you get deeper with McConnell and Trump, when you get deeper into the urban core, and especially as you get into like the West End, trying to make sure we understand how we can help people in that area is important. And we need to make sure that we get that messaging right and make sure we address their concerns. So I appreciate you bringing it up. And, you know, maybe we need to have a separate committee so that we can help Jason and Ken with any messaging and any, campaign. We don't want to get out the wrong message, right? We don't want to say the wrong thing. So I appreciate you stepping up and bringing that to our attention.
No problem. I mean, I'm here to help. And I'm just trying. I can give, being younger and Black, I feel I can give a different perspective on, a different pulse on what's going on. And like, the young man was saying here, we got to start taking notes too on what's working and what's not working. Because if you look, it might upset some people here, but even when it comes to like Trump, you got that young boy in North Carolina, I can't remember his name, but Trump pulled the guy from that district to be in his cabinet, and the kid he's not even old enough to legally to hold the position. He won't be old enough until right before he can take office. And Trump had a pick himself, and he lost to that kid out in Colorado. You had the young girl out there who beat a 5-time incumbent GOP.
It's because they're playing the new game.
Yes.
So
the game is
one
changing.
of the things that everybody in this room should do is go follow the Democratic Party in Logan County and see how many times they post and what they post and how much engagement they get. Versus Republican Party in Logan County, which is hardly any posts, hardly any engagement. That right there is a huge bit of messaging about why we're not attracting youth vote. And again, the Democratic Party is posting constantly things that make me upset and I want to comment on, but I don't. I just scroll past it. If we started doing the same thing, play the same game, we have to change our tactics, everything would change very, very, very quickly. And that's, from an observational point, the biggest fundamental difference that I see back and forth is we're not playing the same game that the other teams play.
Let me comment real quick. Our candidates are, and what we're doing is working. I mean, it's not about Trump. We've got super majorities in both houses of the legislature. I beat a guy in his 80s. All of us, our consultants, and maybe our parties aren't, our county parties aren't doing that. I don't watch the Oakland County Democratic Party. And perhaps we should get better. We can always get better, no doubt about that. But the social media game, from a candidate level, we're whipping them. I was in charge of recruiting candidates throughout Kentucky this year for the Kentucky House. We've got a bunch of millennial candidates. 36%, I don't know what it is in Kentucky, but 36% of the voters in the United States are millennials. And I'm Generation X, and we're third. Boomers are still number one.
You do an excellent job of engaging your constituents as well.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
Excellent.
But we're trying to turn that page. What we do really well at is person-to-person engagement, and we need to do better with social. I think we do well at it, but we can improve on it. But our candidates, I think, are doing an excellent job. Bill did a really good job on his on digital media. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's no Republican that could have won that race. There's none.
I disagree hardly. If you put Alex White up, we would have had it.
No, Alex White.
would have had it.
I love Alex. He's my buddy. But I'm just saying, no Republican can overcome 15,200 to 6,700.
How much money did he spend? Like $400,000. Alex would have whooped his butt compared to I'm telling you.
I don't agree, but that's the beauty of it.
Ken, you want to come up?
No, this is 2 minutes.
Well, while you're here and they see your face, would you tell them what you're doing Saturday? We were going to do it later, but you do it since you're up here.
Yeah, I can also secret squirrel.
Oh, secret squirrel. Okay, sorry.
No, anyway, I just say something really quick. 2 years ago, when I went to the Osborne farm, I met Henry and his wife and his kids and so forth. And I walked away, and my wife and I said, "There's an individual that shows a humility and sincere and a lot of respect and so forth." And so I want to say thank you very much for standing up and saying that, because I think we all have our challenges. And I'm going to be committed to, reaching further out there, to help us bind together from a love and caring point of view. So I was going to say thank you very much. And I tell you what, it goes back to what my dad said a long time ago to me. Actually, it goes back to my grandfather. He said, "Never judge a book by its cover. You need to read the pages of it to understand the story." And I may have only read 1 or 2 pages of Henry, but I like the first paragraph. So anyway, what Mary mentioned, I do have get together this Saturday at Inspirational Grounds at 12 o'clock. I'm going to go over a couple things in terms of what the 3 precincts that I represent, what we're going to be doing, and what our strategy is. It goes back to what Henry says in terms of reaching out to the youth, as well as looking at some other tactics that I'll say a little bit more about that this Saturday about that. So if you're interested, come on out and we can go. We'll talk and we'll go from there. But we're like Jason and I are really looking at a lot of help in Oakland County. And even though he has 7 and I have 3, I can tell you what, the power that you wield can really wipe out quite a few of the liberal, progressive voters in Jefferson County. And I know Jason and I have a really deep love and respect for Oakland County. I've got relatives out here, so I want to make sure we stay invested in Oakland County. So I'll be quiet. I went way past my time.
I hope you got to see Ken. I don't think you were looking right at this little camera. Yes, Debbie, did you want to say something?
I do want to say something, and I've wanted to say this for a while, and it seems to be an opportune moment, but it's, I'm going to say it, and we need a youth chair that can help us. And I have looked up what you said last meeting, that you all we had to do was call you to get an absent erased. But our youth chair is gone. She has not been here numerous times, over 3 times in a row. I talked to Henry and I talked to his wife at our dinner, our March dinner, before all of this. And I think Henry's 38 years old. He could move into our youth chair position and do some good for this thing. Marissa's got lots of children, little kids that we all know takes a lot of effort. She's not been here. She's not on the Zoom meeting. She wasn't on the Zoom meeting.
Yes, she's on Zoom.
He didn't mention her when he said that. Is she there, Blaine?
Marissa, no. Oh, she was going to be.
And she wasn't last month.
Yeah, she was. No, she was excused last month.
You excused her. That is not in our bylaws, which are the RPK. I think it's time that we change this and move forward and not take on all this nonsense.
Well, we're not going to do anything about that tonight, but
we can move them because I've got it in the bylaws. I've got a picture of it that says you can remove them if they are absent 3 times in a row. They tried to do that before you were elected to our last secretary because she wasn't showing up without any reason or whatever. So you miss it 3 weeks, 3 times in a row, then you're gone. That's all you have to do. So that's what you need to do, Mary. I mean, you've made excuses for a long time. So we need somebody that can do the job. Henry's a young man. He's wanted that job for over a year, and I talked to his wife about it in March, and she agreed that he would be a great opportunity. So I made a motion that we replace Marissa due to the state rules that say she missed 3 meetings in a row and replace her with him. If we can get rid of Bill Ferko as treasurer and Kendra Pruitt as secretary because of something else, the rules say that we can do this to somebody that doesn't show up and doesn't participate.
all right, we have a motion on the floor to remove Marissa Cunningham as treasurer, as youth chair. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Hi.
What?
Hey.
I can't, okay. Who's talking and what did you say?
I couldn't talk on it. It says that only the host can share on my phone. That is why I'm on this as I'm sitting here. That's why.
But she just said something and Ferko just talked to us. Do you know who just spoke?
Was that, I see Karen, you came off mute. Was that you?
That's the chance.
All right. Those of you at home, would you like to, what?
This is Kevin.
Okay. Chris, please be quiet. Yes, Kevin.
Yeah, just a question. Is that just a simple majority vote, or is it has to be 2/3? Or, you know, I'm a little uncomfortable voting somebody out with them not, you know, being present or being on the call or whatever. You know, it's kind of be blindsiding them, I think. And so I guess my question is it a simple majority to remove someone, or is it does it take a 2/3 vote?
And I don't have the bylaws in front of me, but I think it is a 2/3 vote.
That would be my guess, because it's in the same paragraph as the one where it did something malicious. That you have to give a 30-day notice. This you do not have to give a 30-day notice or a letter. I can bring that up.
Okay, at this point, we do not have a second.
Yes, somebody second.
No, she's not a precinct officer.
You have to be a precinct officer.
So
I second it. I second it.
Karen McShane.
Karen.
All right, Karen McShane, second. Is there some discussion besides Kevin saying he's a little reluctant under the circumstances for this?
But if she doesn't come, how in the world can we?
Well, we have about 12 people who haven't been coming.
And we have said January, we were going to start getting rid of those people that didn't come. You said that.
No.
Would it be reasonable just to ask her if she would like to give it up? Because I have a feeling that she probably would say yes.
That's my thought too.
Like, I grew up knowing Marissa, and I have a feeling that she probably would be okay to.
Yeah.
She may not want to, but.
Okay, we have okay, the point is from Kevin is, it's a little sudden. Chris says, maybe we should ask Marissa what she'd like to do.
Courtesy.
A courtesy. All right, so is there any more discussion?
I have a point to make.
What?
Bob died.
Bob died?
Make a point.
I'll go along with Kevin Jeffries. I feel uncomfortable moving somebody out of a position. I know that people are missed for all kinds of reasons. I think the COVID's had some, I'm not going to say that's the reason. This is an unusual situation we're in. I think the fair way to be, maybe it's time to move on, and maybe that's, I'd rather her move on her own accord than just, because you got to look at the overall performance, not the last 3 meetings. I'd rather have Marissa in the room and hear what she has to say, and then, you know, that way it would give her the opportunity to have her, you know, her day in court, so to speak. So
okay, thank you.
I'm going to abstain any vote on this because I don't think it's the right way to go about this. I think we're better than that.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Any more discussion?
I will say that we're not talking 3 consecutive meetings one time. Just so you all know this, that I've been trying to do this for 2.5 years. And only to get this going and to get the motivation going on all this youth thing. I'm not doing this for any other reason than we need to make a difference, and we need to make it now. And that, you know, 3 in a row, that's been numerous times 3 in a row. And you know that, Mary, because you've come in with all the excuses. So that's all
I'll
I'm
say that we would not have had our successful Lincoln Day dinner without her. Yes, that's true. Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor?
Harry?
I'm going to look over to
No, you can't make a motion.
Somebody's trying to talk.
Does that supersede the vote?
It does. You vote on the motion to the table before you vote on that line motion. That's the motion. It has to be seconded. Yeah. So all that means is that it's put on the table and it can be brought up at any future time.
Could we openly say, like, if she's not here at the next meeting, we move to put it in? Is that?
No.
Okay.
I think we have a motion. Did you make that motion?
I'm making a motion to table this, and I think it's for the reasons that people are talking about.
Courtesy is.
And I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, Jason, all in favor of tabling the motion?
That's how you would do it. I'm not tabling.
Oh, no, that was advice. Thank you.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
All right. All opposed? Okay. All right. Thank you. That's good. That we have something to discuss.
Is there a problem with having co-chairs?
Kevin, what?
co-chair.
Oh, co-chairs.
I mean, certainly with somebody
In this
that wants
case,
to be involved.
in this case, yes.
I would say we should do everything we possibly can to welcome his involvement.
Absolutely.
And if there is any way that
No, you don't always see the chair.
without it being, if you will, a slap in the face to Melissa, is there any way that we could try that for a while? And it may well be.
No, they can work, excuse me, they can work together, but they cannot at this point be a co-chair. But okay, I'm going to move on because I know those people at home are ready to go home too. Shari Broker does not have anything to bring up tonight. The 4-year appointment to the Oldham County Board of Elections is Jean Crady. That was done by the state. And is there any other unfinished business?
I have Trump signs, Oldham County Women's Club. We are not allowed by law to give to federal anything, not even 1,000. So we bought Trump signs. I'm selling them for $8 a piece, and until they get paid for, and we're collecting the money, and then hopefully we'll have more to sell after that. And they're the corrugated plastic. They're not those slip over shapes.
Okay.
And we have closed and decided to cancel our fundraiser, which is October 3rd. So that's a problem for us, fundraising. So it's always something. But we have the Trump signs, and we're trying to sell those so that we can make some money so that we can give it to the candidates.
How many do you have?
How many signs do I have? We bought 100 of them. And hopefully I can get more. The more I buy, the more obviously they go down in price. We tried to get them, our original thing was to have them across from the election, the polls. And I paid a little more for the signs just so we had them that day, but UPS told me at 4:50 that morning they would not deliver them as they had told me. So.
Okay. Any other unfinished business?
Mary, I have a statement.
Yes.
I believe that Bob said earlier that we're going to get down to about $4,800, but then again, we may give out additional contributions after the election or even prior to the November election. I think we ought to be thinking about it now. I'm not earth-shaking thinking, but some sort of thinking of what we're going to do about next year for the races that are coming in 22. Because we all really don't know from what we've seen out of Washington and out of Frankfurt. There's a lot of discussion about the COVID, the virus, the vaccine, all of that. We may very well be wearing these masks by this time next year. I know that scares people, but that could be the case. I don't think anybody thinks about that. It came on us one day. I was going to go to dinner with my wife, and they said, we can't serve you. The governor closed us. We don't know where this is going to go. We need to be thinking of some alternative ways to be raising money and maybe reaching out to not only other counties, but some counties in other states, like through NACO or something like National Association of Counties. We need to start thinking outside the box. Let's not get caught short at the last moment, then start scrambling around like a chicken with our head cut off. I just think that we need to be thinking that way for next year, because we really have a year there that we can start with and rebuild and move on and do something different. And then again, we may take the mask off on election day, as they say, but I still think it needs some consideration.
When you get our invitation to come to our non-fundraiser in October, remember that statement. You just send us what you pay for our meal instead of having to come.
Okay, guys, I don't think any of this is unfinished business, but I'm going to move on. Our new business, under new business, our speaker next month, Ken, is you. Thank you so much. And I had a letter from the Kentucky College Republicans. Evan Wright wanted us to donate $500, but our treasurer, thank you, Bob Vessels, checked with Frankfurt, and we cannot give them any money. Bob said he smashed his piggy bank and came up with some money, and I'm going to donate somebody. If anybody wants to donate some money for the college Republicans, let me know, send me a check. It'll be directly to them, and it won't come through the GOP. Let's see, under announcements, Debbie Pate has told you that she's got Trump signs for $8, and we're not having the fall dinner. Shari Broker with ROC. Shari, do you have anything to say? I don't think you do.
Not really. I just wanted to point out that you skipped something under unfinished business, which was the 4-year appointment to the Board of Elections.
No, I said that.
Did you? I missed it. I didn't hear it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jean Crady is the appointment for another 4 years.
I didn't hear it either.
All right. Well, again, my voice doesn't carry, but it's Jean Crady is the Board of Elections appointment.
I do think, Mary, that maybe we can get the executive board or whatever, send him a nice thank you note, guys. I talk about above and beyond with all the absentee ballots. This guy, normally, you know, what does he work, a few days? I mean, he was there for weeks representing Oldham County. So unbelievable job that he did. So I think we owe him a big thank you.
Okay. I'll take care of that. Talk to April. Becky Don was going to talk about Ken. Did you want to talk about the Right to Life meeting? You won't be heard from over there.
She's not going to do it. No, stand up in front of the camera.
All right.
I've got to get up at 4 in the morning.
Okay, Becky does not want you to see her face, but here she comes closer. Come on.
Wes. Some of you know that we in Oldham County have been able to start a chapter of Right to Life. And so we had our first meeting right before the shutdown, and then got to have our second meeting last Saturday. And one of our main objectives is to help pro-life candidates get elected. And we're very blessed that all of our legislators in Oldham County are 100% pro-life, David and Jason and Ken and Jerry, so thankful for that. So David, as they said earlier, does not have an opponent this time, so we want to do everything we can to help Jason and Ken and Jerry. And Ken mentioned a minute ago, he came to our meeting last Saturday, and as we asked him, how can we help? And so our first project is this Saturday, we're meeting at Inspirational Grounds at 12, and Ken is gonna get us started on that project of doing a postcard project that he has going. He can explain it much better than I can. But anyway, we're just going to go there long enough on Saturday to meet with Ken, to get all the information we need on how to get set up, get everything we need and how to do it and everything. Then have the week to work on it, and then meet up with him again to bring them back to him. So we would love for everybody to come and help.
Okay. That is 12 o'clock, Inspirational Grounds on Saturday. I had a call right before I left home. McConnell is going to go door to door on Saturday. I hope you all can hear me since you couldn't hear me a while ago. Going to meet at 9:30 in the morning in Prospect. Now you get your pen and pencil ready. I'll give you the address. They're planning to knock on doors, and a mask is required. Okay, are you ready? This would be on your agenda, but I'll try to get this information out to you in the next 2 days. 12618 Ridgewood Drive, Prospect. That's 40059.
Try the number again, please.
It's 12618 Ridgewood Drive. That's to help McConnell. Michael Adams has put out a request that we really need to find poll workers, especially young ones, because they don't catch the virus as easily as the old ones. And you do have to be 18 years old. I do understand that Julie Barr has been reaching out to poll workers, but we need to do our part and come up with more young people to work the polls. I put on your agenda 2 TV programs. I have to put it on my calendar at home. If I'm not able to watch it, I record it. On September 22nd, Frontline is going to do a program about, they call it the choice of 2020 between Biden and Trump. That's at 9 o'clock. And on September 29th is the first debate. And that's going to be Biden and Trump. So, like I say, I put that on my calendar. So I just wanted to give you that information. I have some dates on your calendar. The state fair, I don't know if the Republicans will have a booth. If they do, I'll reach out to you and let you know. Have you heard anything, Debbie, about a booth?
Not about booths.
Okay.
The only exhibits are going to be 4-H exhibits. So you're not going to have quilts, and you're not going to have flowers, and you're not going to have fish. I don't know, very limited fare.
Okay. And of course, you know that there are
no chickens, not 4-H, unless you're 4-H. Don't have chickens.
That's not right. I found that out when I went to Shelbyville. They're only adults, regular people can have chickens, but not 4-H. It's ridiculous. And so anyway.
What, at the state fair?
State fair, but it's too late to enter.
Yes.
Okay. As you know, the Republican National Convention has been scaled back to only a few, very few people for 4 hours. And that's about it for now. Any other business? Anybody want to say anything else?
Let's be sure to include in the minutes the addresses for their campaign committees.
Okay.
So that
All right.
anybody that wants to contribute can
Okay, I'll get their addresses before they leave. All right, anything else?
I just want to mention that I've got the chat on, and I can tell you from what I'm seeing on this chat that they're saying off and on, sometimes the distortion is overwhelming. They didn't hear you say, you know, about
Gene Grady.
Yeah, about Gene, and you said it clear. So it's just coming and going for all these people. So Chris might have to look into something so that we can work this out, so that it is a good meeting for everybody to come to.
Okay. Well, we do have some discretionary funds. If this takes money to make this work better, then we should maybe invest in it. Can I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Thank you.
I second it.
All in favor?
Hear what she was saying, and so
Opposed? Okay.
4 o'clock.
Make sure
Yes, we used to get babies. We used to get the boys. Oh, wow.